One of the reasons visitors flock to state parks are the caves. But due to a 70 to 100% mortality rate in caves that bats have been using for years, visitors are finding many caves have closed as researchers race to find out why the bat population is dwindling. Laura Holman is a graduate student at the Indiana State University Center for North American Bat Research and Conservation. She took us to a private cave on the west side of Monroe County. Buckner Cave was once open to the public and a popular destination made evident at one time by trash and graffiti. No bats this morning. Laura hopes after the massive cleanup, this cave will be a suitable habitat for bats once again.
Once I got into rehabbing bats, I realized how essential public education and conservation were, which led me to start working with Dr. Whitaker at Indiana State University with the Center for North American Bat Research and Conservation.
We featured Dr. Whitaker on a previous story on the weekly special, who gave us an up-close and personal look at the bat.
In this room, about 150 or 200 little browns hibernate in this room. Most of them right up, oh, there's some right there.
A bat is a very small mammal. The body size for most bats that people are going to find around their house is about that big, maybe a wingspan of about a foot. And you're much larger than the bat. So theoretically, the bat's going to automatically assume that the human is a predator, the human is dangerous. So typically speaking, the bat's much more scared than the human. The only vampire bats in the world actually occur in the New World. So you won't find them anywhere except Central and South America. And out of over 1,000 species of bats in the world, there are only 3 species of vampire bat. But they get a lot of press.
To Laura and other bat enthusiasts, the common portrayal of bats in movies and books as bloodthirsty animals doesn't depict how important they are to our ecosystem.
The bats that we're going to encounter here in Indiana, they're insectivorous bats, so they eat insects. Probably the most important things, they actually eat a lot of crop pests. So they'll eat various beetles and moths whose larval stages will actually attack our crops. And obviously our crops and food are very essential to us. And if we see a decline in bat populations, we're going to see an unfortunate increase probably in pesticide usage. And the environmental effects of that are typically not good.
During winter, there are no insects, so bats hibernate, living on their fat reserves. But in February of 2006, as many as 10,000 bats were found dying in 4 caves in New York.
They did notice that there was a fungus growing on the noses of many of the affected bats. And sometimes they would just see them roosting and there would just be this very characteristic white fungus growing on their noses, which is where we get the whole name white nose syndrome. Is the fungus causing the bats to wake up too frequently? Normally during the winter, hibernating bats will wake up every couple weeks and go through this what's called an arousal period where they're awake for a number of hours, but they're finding that when they monitor these bats that have infections, that they're waking up every couple days, and therefore they're burning way too many of their calories and thus actually starving to death.
Data suggests that approximately 500,000 bats may have died in New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Connecticut in 2008, and the fungus is spreading to New Jersey, West Virginia, and Virginia this year.
We're very concerned about getting to Indiana. We have some of the biggest hibernacula of the Indiana myotis, which is a federally endangered species of bats. And there is some strong circumstantial evidence that people may have accidentally spread white nose syndrome to other caves just because there were some rather large jumps in the disease to caves that were further away than we thought it was going to spread. But there were people frequenting the cave from white nose syndrome areas, so it's possible that they could have taken, say, spores with them. This is all assuming that the fungus is the causative agent for the deaths of these bats. We'd like everyone to know what's going on, especially these people who unfortunately they're going to the state parks right now and they're seeing the caves are closed and may understandably be getting upset because they don't realize what's going on and that it's so important to respect the conservation efforts in terms of these species of bats.
The actual cause of death is still unknown, and researchers are looking for funding to keep the investigation going.
And you can learn more right here at Spring Mill State Park on Saturday at the 4th annual Gone Caving event and the 3rd annual Indiana Bat Festival September 19th at ISU. And for more information on how to donate and the festival, go to instate.edu and search for the Bat Center.